if protecting carts from swindlers and killing goblins for gold isn't getting us anywhere, I don't know, maybe we could try doing some good this time?
Boring.
Hello everyone, I'm Stella Chung, and today I am joined by the lovely cast of Vox Machina. Hello everyone, how you doing?
How are you?
Good to be here.
Just for a quick little recap, let's go around the table and introduce yourselves and the character that you voice. We'll start with Ashley and kind of sneak around.
Sure. My character that I play is Pike Trickfoot. She is the group's healer and Mama Bear.
I'm Marisha, and I'm playing Keyleth, who is the kind of nature magic wielder who is really just trying to find herself and her place in the world.
I'm Sam Riegel. My character is a spicy individual, and so am I in real life. I
true.
play Scanlan Shorthalt, a master of music and magic, and a bit of a Lothario, and someone who thinks very highly of himself.
My name is Matthew Mercer. In our stream show, I'm the Dungeon Master, but in this cartoon series, I voice mainly the antagonist Silas Briarwood, as well as a smattering of other characters throughout the world of Exandria.
I'm Laura Bailey. I play Vexalia.
I'm Travis Willingham, and I play Grog Strongjaw. He's a big, beefy dimwit with a heart of gold.
Hi, I'm Liam O'Brien. I play Vaxil Dan in The Legend of Vox Machina.
My name is Taliesin Jaffe, and I play Percival de Rollo, and I'm refined, an aristocrat, and a bit of a temper.
So how has going from Kickstarter to a major streaming network, Amazon, changed the story or your approach to storytelling?
That's a good question. For one thing, it allowed us to tell more story from the original Kickstarter, which has been a pleasant element of it kind of expanding what we were initially setting out to do, which was a very small 22 minutes.
With your support, we're going to make that dream a reality.
And also it's allowed us to just bring in a whole nother level of creative talent to help collaborate on this, and still see through our creative vision. Like, a lot of times when you think that transition would mean giving up that vision, thankfully that has not been the case. So I would say not a whole lot has changed beyond just the scope of what we're capable of doing, which has been quite fun.
Kind of echoing Matt, I'm a big believer in that a good story should be able to work in any medium that you want to tell it. So, of course, there was adaptation and things that we had to adjust when you're taking, 400 hours worth of content and putting it into a 12-episode season. But, the story is still there, and I think we were able to do a pretty good job at capturing it and really just kind of capturing the essence of, what did we say? The reasonably mediocre Vox Machina?
Hi, this is a question for Taliesin. My question is outside of watching Whitestone come alive, what has been the best part of seeing the series animated for you?
There's so much. I will say the thing that really hit me the hardest first was the very first piece of concept art, or I think it's actually production art of Whitestone. Seeing this beautiful vista of it with the castle and the village and the tree, the sun tree, and that blew my mind, and I'm still stuck on it, and I keep that image on my laptop and just stare longingly on occasion. that was amazing.
When you're sitting at the table and you're doing stuff where you're like, oh man, in my head this looks so badass, you finally get to show it, and we get to see it animated, and we can feel cool for a minute.
we kind of farted out these characters, and they turned into an amazing story that now we get to share with everybody. But at its heart, it's just a bunch of friends making each other laugh. So I don't know. We didn't set out to do this, but we did, and it feels really cool.
Is it weird to say I would like to thank you on behalf of all the fans for farting out these characters? I'm very happy y'all did that.
You're welcome. The first time anyone's thanked me for farting, so.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Not my first time.
So speaking about this being, I know you mentioned this earlier about being like a largely improv-based story. What was it like bringing this to like a set structured script? And are there story decisions you wouldn't have made if you were doing the campaign now? And I guess whoever wants to answer first, whoever has thoughts on this first.
I mean, we obviously taking a campaign that had hundreds and hundreds of hours of playing content and boiling it down into a 22-minute episodic series. We had to leave a lot of stuff out of the animated series. Any scenes of us shopping or buying weapons or preparing our outfits were all gone. And we also, combined characters and changed up the timeline a little bit just to kind of simplify things and keep the story moving. In all, I think like all of the main story beats of at least the Briarwood arc, which we're telling in season 1, I think all of those story beats, fans who watched campaign 1 will definitely recognize. Like we'll hit all the same big benchmark moments that happen in the campaign, but how we get there is slightly different, and how and the repercussions of those events are slightly different. If we had to go back and redo the campaign, though, I don't think that we would do anything differently. At least not for me. Matt probably, as the world builder, might know things that even we don't about. Like, oh, I wish I changed this backstory because it would have woven into this differently. But for speaking as a player and now as someone who's helping make the show, I loved the twists and turns that the original campaign took, and it made for such a great, unpredictable but satisfying story, and I loved it.
Yeah, from my standpoint, I think doing this has been a cool opportunity to go back and kind of even further massage elements of the narrative with other far more talented creatives than I. A lot of it worked out great and everyone kind of agrees and just kind of fine tunes that. But there are opportunities to bring, NPCs that weren't as important in the story a little more to the forefront. There are opportunities to, just kind of polish it in ways that the improvised nature sometimes doesn't allow me to do from my side of things. And because it isn't all through the eyes of the players like a campaign is, we get to see a little more of the antagonist side of things. We get to experience parts of the story in the world that aren't specifically revolving around the main characters, which gives us a whole opportunity to tell elements of the story that previously just kind of existed in my head. So that's a really exciting part about doing the animated series. As far as redoing the full thing, I mean, yeah, there's always things like, I could have done that better, I could have been more impactful, or like, oh, that would have been a cooler twist in hindsight. But I don't want to also change up what made the first story magic. So I don't know. I'd say minor tweaks, but nothing major.
Yeah, I think as players, we all have these kind of star standout moments in our brains when you look back of like, man, that was cool. That was a badass, iconic Keyleth moment or an iconic Pike moment. So whenever, we had an opportunity to incorporate anything like that, we definitely tried to get it in. So seeing really badass spell moments, amazing moments where you get to see the day and seeing that realized on screen, that was awesome.
Now this question is for Ashley, from Annie at Firefly_Spirit says, I have a question about Pike. I'm so excited to be getting more of her in this animated series, and I was wondering from Ashley's perspective, what it was like to dive deeper into that character, and for all of you, what it was like to add Pike into those scenes that she wasn't in the original series.
I think just being able to be a part of the story a bit more, and especially the Briarwood arc was one of my favorites to watch when I was in New York, and it was just, it had everything, but I loved watching it, and I love that we were able to sort of put me there and put Pike there. Felt really special and really cool, and at the time we never thought we would be making an animated series, and it was just sort of watching the stories go down on the stream. I was like, oh man, I wish I could have played that, but now in some ways I got to be there. and got to be a part of it, and that feels really cool.
How much of the dialogue are direct quotes and interactions from the campaign? And did you have to go back through the stream show to try to grab some of those quotes? I guess we could start with Matt.
Yeah, I mean, when we were preparing this whole project, it was a heavy process of going back and rewatching season 1 and extensively detailing the major story beats, the minor story beats, the character moments that really were awesome and impacted both us and the community that helped make this happen. So yeah, that was a heavy part of the pre-production process, which is kind of outlining that and asking each of the cast members, you know, what are things that you really want to see in this? What are things that you're really excited to see about your character in the story? And so kind of through that collaborative process, and countless hours, especially on Travis and Sam's side, of pouring through campaign 1 again, we were able to kind of to really find a solid path to keeping as much of that as possible.
Yeah, the writers of the show also went back and listened to or watched all the pertinent episodes that they needed to for especially for the Briarwood arc for season 1. And that meant listening to our old podcast episodes. Sometimes they would probably listen at like 1.5 or 2 times speed just to get through it a little faster. But yeah, we definitely went and looked back at stuff. I would say that the dialogue is not all direct quotes, although like I said, the writers definitely heard the original campaign and were influenced by it. There are some epic quotes or meaningful moments that are definitely given their due and given homage in the series. But a lot of the dialogue was just crafted to suit the needs of the scene, and written by professional writers.
And I think it's about 36 hours worth of content that we squished down into about 6. And there are certainly like iconic lines that we both love and that the fans love, and we knew that those were going to have to stay. But you know, for the most part, it's really like Liam and Laura said, just finding, you know, what's true about the characters, their relationships, the arcs, making sure that's represented in the way that they speak or emote or move. For some characters that are less wily with their words, and we made sure that there were definitely some iconic moments that stayed, though, because we knew that's what the fans wanted, but also what we wanted.
Those poor writers just had to deal with, you know, all 7 of us being like, but don't forget, Keyleth is also like this, and Keyleth and Vax's relationship, that's important, you can't forget it. So we just information downloaded in these poor writers.
As DM, you usually play all the NPCs, you do the voices, you get very into character. So what was it like to see your NPCs voiced by others, and did you choose who would voice them?
Honestly, that was one of the coolest parts of this whole production process, was helping cast whoever was going to be taking these characters over. It wasn't me casting them, it was a group effort, with Sam and Travis, helming a lot of the audition process, but I was brought in for each of these major casting choices, for my opinion, and to ensure that we were all on the same page. And that was one of the coolest things, was to select each of these incredible performers to bring these characters that I love so much, that each of them has a little part of me in it, and bring them to life in ways that I never possibly could. So yeah, that was super exciting. And God, we got some really, really good people on this, and I can't wait for people to check it out.
Aaron P. Tutt at Aaron P. Tutt on Twitter says, so my question is for Travis, and it is, who is Grog's greatest enemy, and why is it Kern the Hammer?
Oh, yes. Going back to the old days. Well, lip wounds from fighting are a very rare thing, but Kern the Hammer and I definitely share a history in the Trial Forge in Vasselheim. Yeah, it's got to be either Kern the Hammer or, Vox Machina's favorite shared enemy, a good old door.
Hi. So, if you had to swap characters and portray any member of Vox Machina that wasn't your own, which one did you pick and why? Thank you so much for everything.
Okay, because I've always loved rogues, I would pick Vax, just because of the gameplay and the just fun being in and out and sneaky.
It's a tough draw between either Grog or Scanlan for me. and both kind of for the same quality, which is they kind of get to say whatever they want, and no one will really bat an eyelash at them. Maybe Scanlan a little bit more than Grog, because he gets to say all the stuff that if I said, I would be canceled. So yeah.
That is true. I think I would check out Percy just because I don't really get to play just as a voice actor or actor in real life. I don't get to play sort of studly, bitter, disturbed characters like that who always have the right thing to say, know what to say at the right time, and are, I don't know, he just seems so cool to me and so put together. And I just don't get to do that ever, so I'd love to explore that.
I'd probably vote Vex personally. Kind of like, as a that kind of that confident, badass kind of feminine hero. Like that's something I never get to portray, and can aspire to a certain degree to want to be closer to. So yeah,
I would pick Keyleth.
Ooh.
Just 'cause I like to, for once, play into my natural anxiety and social awkwardness. This is hard.
Yes.
Being able to. I don't know. That would feel really good.
I think I would want all the elegance and charm of my twin. Oh, goddamn, Mr. Lay, darling.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So Liam, you would pick Vex?
Yes, my twinny. Because I lack a certain amount of confidence in real life, and I aspire to just languidly swimming through the world.
As wonderful as my twin is, darling, I would choose Grog. Because I think there's so much joy in playing a character that has no filter, and Grog can just... The first thing that comes into his brain comes out of his mouth, and that's so much fun. Plus... I haven't gotten to tank it in a long time, and I quite enjoy destroying things.
Being a tank is fun. I think for me it would definitely be Scanlan. Just because I would want to get naked as often as possible for no reason at all, and then sing to people to make it better. Can't really go wrong with that.
Hi, Critical Role. So my question is, when you first created Vox Machina, you and the rest of the critters, we were all experiencing these character stories for the very first time. And my question is, what was it like in this process, going back and revisiting these characters and their stories, but knowing how everything ends and how these characters' stories evolve and turn out?
It was kind of wonderful to come back to Vox Machina in their little tiny shoes that they started in. And it was interesting because a lot of times, when you're playing a character, you don't know where their arc is going to take them. And having all of that information only brings so much more depth to the performance that we're able to give in the animated series. So it felt like coming home to be able to see them again in that way.
What was it like to revisit Grog?
Oh, it's like a resort vacation. There's no responsibilities. He can't really say anything wrong, but he will. It really is just the most fun, like Laura said, just taking the filter from brain to mouth and just throwing it in the trash. Plus, one of the great things about recording this was, we were definitely involved in, all of the scripts and every facet of production, but getting everybody together in those recording booths, or even when we were recording remotely, and just being able to vibe and ad-lib and just make it up as we go, because we know these characters so well, was the best. And I think being able to play fast and loose with these personalities is something that we had all missed quite a bit.
What was it like going back to Vax?
It just felt like getting into a warm bath with your sister hiding just beneath the surface.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Spoilers.
So Taliesin, how about you? What was it like for you?
It was very much like opening a photo album and being reminded that you and all your friends were idiots, and it's amazing you survived. We were squishy idiots. My God. It's mostly been a wonderful trip down a series of events that should have killed us and didn't, and it's still shocking every time I see one.
Hi everyone, my name's Anna. My question is for everyone, but what is your personal thought process in creating a character? Whether for the party, it's creating that new character for the one shot or the campaign, or for like Matt, the DM, what is your thought process on creating a new NPC that they'll get to meet? And how do you make them memorable?
Building a memorable character for these characters, I think the secret ingredient was time, because honestly, when we first started playing these characters, they were not memorable. they were super one note, basic characters. They were just a name, a series of stats, and a little funny voice, and that was it. But we played through these stories with these characters for so long that we started to get to know them better, and we kind of fell in love with our own characters and learned so much about them as we played through. That's how they became memorable to us, was just by sort of living with them for so many years. I wouldn't know how to make these characters just like in a day. It took forever.
Yeah, I think flaws and failure are two things that should be embraced to not only tell good stories, but to bring characters to life in relatable and interesting ways. Often you learn far more by failure than you do by succeeding. Mm-hmm. And I think building characters or NPCs that can be willing to embrace that journey can really lead to, one, learning a lot about yourself as a player, but also can end up creating a lot of very interesting moments for conflict, for catharsis, for character growth. That's my 2 cents.
Hello from across the pond here in England. We are really excited to see the new Vox Machina TV show on Amazon Prime. But what is the arc that you guys are most excited for us, the fans, to see on TV? Thanks, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
I mean, they're about to see it. For me, it's always the Briarwoods and White. I'm so excited.
Well, I'm just really curious to get to the point in the story where Vax sort of goes into a cocoon and comes out the other side, and see what I guess I'm really interested in the end game, and I obviously hope that we get to tell that part of the story.
So what can we expect from season 2 that you can say?
I'm very excited for season 2, and we, the nice part about working with Prime Video was that it allowed us to have a second season as part of our planning, and there are a lot of stories to be told with these group of adventurers, Vox Machina. So we're hoping for many seasons and success, and what we wanted to do was go back and smartly plan how we seed some of those later storylines early in seasons 1 and 2. So I think fans of the show or newcomers to the property that may want to go back and watch the live play series for themselves will see the beginnings of some pretty major storylines, starting with some pretty large new introductions for season 2.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this beautiful, magical story to our lives, and for making it so big that it's now an animated TV show so we can experience it again. Thank you all for joining. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having
us.
us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
This was a
fans.
blast.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
For more Critical Role news and Vox Machina content, be sure to stay tuned to IGN.